Alright, I don't have my water this time, but there's a bathroom sink nearby, so that should do. But the reason why there wasn't a video yesterday, I mean, if people were going to watch it, they probably wouldn't have watched it until today anyway. So, but the reason why was because the event that I had Sunday, or it was actually people over. It went for 1 day longer than I expected. So, and family matters. So I didn't record. But today, I think this is I'm actually gonna get rid of this because I'm not going to win, and also because that was probably I didn't really explain the early game well, but I mean basically you can go like depending on which tree, like you should always go either tradition or liberty as an opener. If you go liberty, just spam cities like I do. But if you go tradition, you might want to work on getting a shrine, granary, library, just like, and then you might want to focus on exploration, like scouting. Want to focus on getting your pop-up with like workers improving tiles. It's more so slowly expanding, like in moderation, like controlled. That's not what I do though. It's just kind of my thing. I don't recommend it. It's just like if you want, like I don't consider myself a pro player. I've almost been immortal, but that's not really a feat. It's only a feat if you manage to beat deity, and not the way I did, where I showed it, where you just do one turn and then you get the achieve. I actually never knew that worked. Like I saw someone do it, but I thought it was fake. But apparently, all right. So this was let's take a look at. We were doing tourism, culture, and social policies. Now this is laggy as shit. So let's get all these out of the way. And I'm not gonna do it like last time where I pretty much just I had to do the entire turn and then start. Let's go here. Now you have, I talked a little bit about this before involving science, but you have tradition, which this is generally for growth. Like don't listen to the descriptions because it's not gonna help. I mean, some of them are obvious, like piety is still for faith. Patronage is still for city-states. Aesthetics is still for culture. And tourism a bit. Actually pretty good for tourism. Actually, no, this has nothing to do with... Oh, no, it does. Cultural exchange. But the finisher is also for tourism. But I'll basically give a brief overview. Tradition growth, liberty production, and expansion a bit. Tradition is for growth and expansion and moderation. Honor is for army, only army. Piety, faith, like I talked about. Commerce is for gold. This is generally my second policy. I usually go tradition, and then once I hit medieval, commerce, wagon trains, and then go down rationalism. Exploration, that's naval. So if you get honor and exploration, you essentially have the two military tenets in the standard one, besides autocracy, which I have, and then rationalism. Now, you first start with 4, tradition, liberty, honor, and piety. And as you progress through the eras, you unlock more. I think patronage and I think patronage and aesthetics is classical. I think commerce and exploration are medieval, and then rationalism is Renaissance. And then once you hit modern era, you can pick between 3 ideologies. You can pick autocracy, which in this game I went. Order, which that's more so for that's more so for like large empires, as in empires with many cities. Like me, if I went order, I have a ton of cities, but that wouldn't help me take caps. And then each of them, I forget, when you pick them, they each have a recommended victory. But, oh yeah, freedom is for smaller empires, or like, it's also specialist based, while order is production based. Autocracy is obviously military based, that's all there is to it. But futurism, you can go for futurism, tourism victory, which I think I've mentioned this before, but futurism is a policy. I'm not even sure I have it. No, I don't. But basically what it is plus 250 tourism to all known civilizations when a great person's born. essentially what you do is you get futurism, you build all the guilds right after, and then you just pump out great people. And eventually you will get some tourism, but it'll be not as much. It's mainly just the birth of them that you're going to try and pull yourself to tourism victory. But yeah, so I honestly forgot what I was going to talk about. Oh yeah, I should talk. So you have certain like trees within each social policy. Like you can start with autocracy or oligarchy, but in order to get these three, you need oligarchy. Same with liberty. You need republic for collective rule, and then citizenship for these two. Honor, same thing. It's divided into two. You need this for this, and then this for these two. Piety is kind of similar to tradition. You need this you can get on your own, and then you need these three from this, and then it goes on. But some of them you need like two for, so like that's mainly this one. In order to get this, you need this and this, but that's generally not common. This is also another one. This is for these two, and then this you need these two, and then that's it. But for ideology, you have 3 tiers. In order to get a second tier, you need 2 first tiers. And in order to get a third tier, you need 3 first tiers, 2 second tiers, and then the third tier. Now, for the first tier and third tier, there are only an amount of policies per slot. So the first tier has 7 policies, while the third tier is 3. The second, there's also 7, so you get kind of a selection. Or at least that's how it is for freedom. I mainly go freedom, so I would know, but it might be different for ours. I don't think it is, but you generally as you go down, they get better. So like on the third tier, I know there's, or at least for freedom and order, there's something for spaceships, there's something for culture, and there's usually something for diplomacy. 1 for each victory type. I think that's fair. For level 2, you usually have good happiness policies, and in this case you have also good military, like total war, that's for production, this is for economy. And then you have some average happiness stuff like universal healthcare. Actually, I forgot to mention, for the first tier, tons of them are shared within each ideology. For example, I'm pretty sure industrial espionage is available for all 3. I'm also pretty sure, I'm not sure fortified borders is. I know universal healthcare is. So like, I don't think mobilization is. Wait, I use the same. Oh no, that's unit maintenance and that's unit purchasing. All right, but yeah. So I think I remember what I was going to talk about. I was trying to talk about the victory types for each policy. Like honor obviously is for military victory. That's why I win it. But if you're going for like naval domination rather than land, exploration is going to help you a lot. Yeah, this is really good. And then do both these? No, this doesn't reveal hidden antiquity sites. Alright, that's only exploration. For some reason I thought it was both. But yeah, so science victory, rationalism. I think I talked about this before, but secularism, humanism, free thought, that's really all you need. If you want, you can get these 2 and just get the finisher, which allows you to purchase them with great scientists with faith. And then within ideologies, like I said, level 3, there's generally 1 policy per victory type. And that's generally it. If you go policy 1, you can get, obviously, the futurism if you're going for culture, but if you're on autocracy, this is military based, so you'll have good stuff for all 3 tiers. Order is also can be military based because of the production bonuses. Freedom generally isn't, but if you're going military autocracy, I wouldn't suggest order. Just go autocracy. You'll get tons more bonuses. So autocracy is really only for military, and if you want to do the futurism, that could work. But I just suggest going to normal culture victory. because futurism is kind of like a cheesy victory, and you're kind of essentially wasting an entire ideology. I mean, there are some good happiness stuff, but none of the art stuff is really going to be useful for you. I think autocracy is actually best for happiness. There are a couple of useful things, like I know there's +5 food and +5 science in capital. The +5 science isn't a lot, but the +5 food is. And then there's just some other stuff. I guess spies is pretty good. But yeah, that's kind of it. If you go order, I don't have order up right now, but that's mainly for science victory and military victory, like I said. I'm not sure there's any good. I know there's a 3rd tier policy for tourism, but it's freedom has the better 3rd tier policy. Like, for example, I'm not even sure autocracy is the 3rd tier tourism policy, but I know order's 3rd tier policy is you get 33% bonus to tourism for nations with less happiness. Alright. But for freedom, you get plus 33% tourism output for cities with a broadcast tower. So, theoretically, the tourism amounts should be the same, but I think individually, if the cities have the broadcast towers, then they'll come out more. And also, if you combine that with the CN tower, then each city gets a broadcast tower. But I mean, I guess it's kind of the point. The multipliers are. If you just stack tons of multipliers, it could be more. But it's kind of up for debate. And freedom, I don't have it up, but freedom is generally for science and called tourism. I already explained the tourism policy. But the science policy is, I think I've explained this as well in my previous video. +4 from great percentile improvement. So that's, like, for example, I have tons of academies near my capital. Alright? If I got +4 science from all of these, they'd all be getting 16, and I'd probably have about 100 more science, maybe even 200 with all the science modifiers. But yeah. Alright. And I mean, order, their science policy is 25% science output for cities that have a factory, and you also get to build them half the time, which is nice. So you can do that as well if you have lots of cities like I do, or if you have like 2, 3, or 4. I wouldn't say 2, because if you have 2 cities, you're not going to win, just saying. But if you have 3 or 4, then you can just do the freedom thing. And then also freedom has benefits for specialists. So if I had freedom, I could probably literally work every specialist slot, no problem. And then that's obviously good for science if you get the, I think it's secularism. It's the one that gives +2 for specialists. And then you also get specialists consume half food, specialists are half unhappy as normal citizens. That's also important. Now, that's kind of it for social policies. Now we can talk about culture a bit. I don't really need this up, but culture. Culture, tourism, defense, that's all no, there's actually a lot more. But, so like 459 culture, I'm obviously the tourism leader. I'm not even that far, look. I'm not close to anyone. Actually, no, I am. Oh, 1,000 turns, that's 98 for Assyria, not bad. But yeah, so 138, he's influential, someone probably Assyria. Let's check. Yeah, he's a lot more. He has so much modifiers. Plus 114, Jesus Christ. He's actually rising with everyone. He's gonna win faster than me. But the problem is the civs that are rising slowly, it means that they are getting more culture than he's getting tourism. So like for example, if an civ was getting 302 tourism and I was getting 459 culture, they wouldn't be able to ever beat me. I just noticed some of these shitty cities on this map. Oh no, that's been there for a while. And this one's been here forever. I mean, it's pretty bad, but it would be good if you had the no quarters mod where exploration got buffed. But there are modifiers for tourism. I'll just talk about tourism. There are modifiers. So for example, like obviously here, this is where your actual tourism output, your actual tourism plus modifiers is. This is your just tourism. This is your tourism output to certain civs. So like for example, plus 114%. That's basically double what he's getting. You get a plus 40% tourism for open borders. I actually think I think it's only 25, but if you go, what's it called? If you get the aesthetics finisher, I think it busts to 40. Same with the trade routes. I think that's 25. 34% is for ideologies and 34% is for religion. I'm pretty sure of that. So that means, on the other hand, if you have different ideologies and different religions, that's minus 70%. Or it actually, let me double check aesthetics, because, let's see, I think it's this one. For religion, alright. So religion's only 17% then. That's not as much as I thought. Or it's only 20%, I think. I can check myself and I'll see. Oh, minus 34% for everyone. But I'm still going to get some. That's because they're not cultured. But another way, like, I think I've said this before, but the way to prevent a culture victory is to... I need to go to the tech tree. Come on, come on. He has a booster just sitting here. It's pretty funny. Alright. Globalization. I think I've said this before. Internet. If you're going for tourism, rush the internet. Double its output. There are some other key wonders, like the CN Tower. I said with I've said this with freedom. This is pretty good if you get the bonus at the end, but it's also good for order, because obviously the more cities you have, the more benefits. Sydney Opera House isn't really good. I'm just gonna do tourism only, because there are wonders that give you culture, but tourism wonder is Eiffel Tower. That's really good for tourism. I might as well talk about the buildings as well. Hotel, it converts culture from world wonders, natural wonders, and town improvements to tourism. And then the tourism output from great works is plus 50. Get hotels in their cities if you're going for tourism. That's probably one of the first things you should do. Broadcast towers, they just give plus 33% culture, I think. But tourism is, if you want that, get hotels. And then obviously you're going to need some slots for that. So that's where museums come into play. That is where opera houses come into play. That is where amphitheaters come into play. But yeah, those are just for slots mainly. There are wonders that offer slots, but I'm just talking about tourism wonders. Oh yeah, the Uffizi. That's somewhere. Oh no, that's just for great works of... That's just for slots. But another thing, antiquity sites and archaeologists. Those are, if you want to win a tourism, just spam archaeologists and get as many great artifacts as you can. Or landmarks if they're in your territory. They'll give you, I'm not sure what the base amount of culture is, but it's just if you work it, or if you improve it, you can get a landmark, which just is a culture tile, plus whatever it already had. Is there anything else? I actually think that's the only just base tourism wonder, plus 12 tourism. I'm not sure any other wonder just gives tourism. I mean, some of them like Broadway gives slots. No, actually, the Pantheon or Parthenon, just it has a pre-built great work, but that's not really that important. I actually think the Eiffel Tower is the only one that just straight up gives tourism. No other ones are coming to mind. Sistine Chapel? No, but I guess that's good for culture. I'm going to talk about the cultural wonders once I think I've pretty much covered it all. Oh yeah, I haven't talked about the Great... No, I did talk about the Great Firewall. Oh yeah, I forgot. Airports have the exact same effect as hotels, except they also increase their unit capacity. So, that means if you have a hotel and an airport, that's plus 100% tourism from Great Works. And then you have plus 100% culture from world wonders, natural wonders, and improvements is added to tourism. So if you stack these two, It's essentially just 100% for everything. So that's something you're going to want to do. Oh yeah, back to the Great Firewall. 99% reduction in spy effectiveness, so it means no spying on that city. And all our cities get 25% reduction. So if you're going for science, you might want to just get that to prevent stealing. If you have a spare great engineer or something, I wouldn't go out of your way to get it though. And then the big part that is good for countering tourism victories is negates the tourism bonus from our players' internet. So, I mean, they can still have stuff like the airport and the hotel, plus all the wonders they get. But the internet is kind of just like the finishing touch for a tourism victory. It just doubles your tourism output. That's kind of obvious. That's literally it. It's once they get the internet, basically you're not going to be able to outculture them unless you have this Great Firewall. Because even if you have like 300, 400, maybe even 500 culture, they'll get more. I mean, I suppose if you have the most, if you have like 200, 300, 400 culture, I don't think you'll get to 500 culture. Because I'm only at 400 in this with like 10 cities with wonders. But even if you have that amount, and even if you have some negative modifiers, like if you're, for example, if you have differing ideologies, that's 34%. I don't think you get a penalty for differing religions. I think you just get a bonus for having the same religion. So if you have minus 34%, even if they'll get like 500, 600, 700 tourism if they get the internet and if they get the airports and the hotels. They'll still be able to out tourism you. But the Great Firewall is kind of like the ultimate defense, because if you have shitty culture and you get it, they'll still out tourism you. But you need good culture plus the Great Firewall. That's the counter to tourism. I mean, obviously, you can just wipe them out. But then whoever has their cities there, actually no, because the buildings are destroyed. So most likely the airports and hotels will be destroyed. But you can just wipe them out, or you can get a shit ton of culture, get the Great Firewall. Because, like, the problem is, I would say that if you're going tourism victory, you might just want to get it so no one else can, but if you're rushing the internet, if you're rushing, like, what I'd do is I'd get the hotels, then I'd get airports, then I'd go internet. But the problem is, you're going to have to go out of your way to get all of that. Like, for example, you need dynamite for flight, obviously, and you need railroad for ballistics. But, in order to get radar. But you don't need combustion combined arms or computers. I wouldn't go out of your way to get those. Or at least I wouldn't. Some people would. I would just go straight for the internet. And then maybe once that's done, go out of my way. But that's the problem. Because if even rushing the internet, I have to go all the way up the top of the tree. While getting computers is a lot easier. I don't even need atomic theory or penicillin. I don't even need plastics for that. What do I need for that? Alright, I don't even need radio for that. That's pretty ridiculous, honestly. I can just get electricity and then go down the bottom, get computers, and then build it. You don't even need all the extra stuff. So if someone's rushing the Great Firewall, if you're rushing tourism, you're not going to be able to beat them to it. But yeah. Or you can just completely avoid the internet, rush down, get it, and then go for the internet. It's kind of like the finishing touch. That could be a legitimate strategy because you're going to need radar anyway, so you get radar and then it. But that's kind of mainly it for tourism. I've talked about all the modifiers. Great works. I haven't talked about the most basic thing. Let's look at my city. Let's talk about the guilds. The guilds you can build. And basically what they do is they generate great writers, artists, or musicians. They each can be used for a great work of art. Great writers can be used for a culture bomb. Great artists can be used for golden ages. And then great musicians can be used for tourism bomb, which the way the culture and tourism works is the later the great person, so like not the first or second, maybe even third or fourth, but like 5 and beyond, then they'll be generating if by using the culture and tourism bombs, you'll get a boatload of culture and tourism. But those are usually late game. You don't want to save your early ones for culture and tourism bombs. It's like saving an early scientist for a pop. Just use it. So, I actually don't ever bomb using culture, or I shouldn't say that. So now this video is going to be under watch. But I don't ever do a culture or tourism bomb. I usually just use it for great works or great slots. Because if you scroll down a bit further, like Hermitage, that's 3 slots for artifacts. And I don't know how to do the theming bonuses. I'm just going to stay away from that. But that's 3 great works of art or artifacts. So if I dig up an artifact or I generate a great artist, I can place them in here for +2 culture and +2 tourism. Great works are also the key to tons of culture. That's why I have 460, 459. But in the ones that you can see, like Renaissance era, you can see who the art writer was created by, and you can see what they generate. So if, for example, if you have hotels and airports, that'll be +4 culture and +4 tourism. And I'm pretty sure there's also I actually don't think in Freedom there's a policy that gives you bonus culture or double culture from great works, but not tourism. So that'd be a bit OP. That'd be definitely the way to go for culture then. Same thing with, like, you can see all of them being worked here. And there are some, these are wonders, but there are specific buildings for culture. Like the ones are amphitheater, broadcast tower, museum, and opera house. Those are the 4 for great work buildings. And then, so even if you get no wonders that involve slots, you can still get up to 5 slots from these. I mean, national wonders, the palace always counts. So you can get 6, Oxford is 7 or 8, national epic is 9, heroic epic is 10, and then Hermitage is 13. So you can get a lot per city. I mean, the national wonders are only 1 city, but still. And then there are just monument, obviously culture, but you should get that anyway. I don't know why you would. Even if you're going Liberty, you still usually build it, even before a granary, arguably. So if you're Liberty, it would be monument then granary. But or monument shrine granary. Just you would build it eventually. If you don't build a monument, then in any of your cities, you're going to get like 5 culture per turn for the entire game. So I don't think that wouldn't be a wise idea, because you'd get like maybe 5, maybe 6 social policies. But so I've talked about tourism, culture. I've kind of talked a little bit about, and how what I haven't talked about is there's a maximum amount, and once you hit that, you get a social policy. So right now it's 4,000, and then you can see next policy however many turns. But what's interesting is each city you own increases policy cost by 10%. So I have like 10 something cities right now. If I had 1 city, it would be probably half of this, because I have a 100% increase about. But that doesn't mean you stay on 1 city. That's a dumb idea. Just if you're going for tourism victory, it's generally better to stay on a lower amount of cities. Same with science, because each city also increases technology costs by 10%. In Civ 6, there's no penalty for expanding, other than district cost, but there's no penalty for science and culture. That is a harsh penalty, but it's not as much as that. So, what else is there to talk about? I've talked about the buildings. I can talk about the wonders. Alright. Earliest culture wonder, the Parthenon. I've kind of already explained it. I've talked about it. Yeah, the Parthenon. I'm just going to talk about the wonders now, because I've kind of integrated like the national wonders with the slots for tourism. So Parthenon's 1, and then obviously I didn't mention this, but the Writers Guilds, Drama and Poetry, Artists Guilds at Guilds, and then Musicians Guild is at Acoustics. If you're going for tourism, it might be a wise idea to pick up a couple cultural wonders. Because you get modifiers for world wonders. And you also get modifiers for your tourism. So, and then I forgot. 3 culture and 3 great person points per specialist slot. So that's 6 if you work both. Kind of didn't mention that. But let's go through, see the cultural wonders. Angkor Wat. Culture cost of acquiring new tires reduced by 25%. This is a garbage wonder. Don't ever go for it. The Globe Theater is just for slots. Most of these cultural wonders will be literally just for slots. I don't recommend getting them. The Sistine Chapel, on the other hand, might be worth it because you get bonus culture in every city. Hermitage always get. This is just 50% culture in this city, and then great works of slots. And this is a national wonder for opera houses. So the Uffizi requires aesthetics, and then this is kind of just, again, even though it's for aesthetics, it's literally just slots. So, and it also for great artists, I guess. So, then yeah, it's not really worth it. The Louvre, same thing. This is just for the exploration tree. It's literally just slots. And then another free great artist appears near the city. So it might be good to get a couple of these if you're going for like tourism victory or something. Let's go railroad. The Neuschwanstein, I think is the name, but it's +2 culture for every castle. So if you're somehow spamming cities, just get castles. You'll get a buttload of culture from them. But I've talked about Aurora. That's not important. Let's see. I've talked about Eiffel Tower I have, but the Broadway's, again, this one is kind of the same, except it's for a great musician. You get a free great musician and 3 slots for great works in music. And then I've talked about hotels, so we don't need to cover those. Cristo Rey tour. This one might be worth getting. Culture cost of adopting new policies reduced by 10. So that's not just for slots. It actually is 0 slots. That's just for culture. So that'd be pretty nice. Or if you're going for if you're getting tons of culture, you might want to get the Cristo Redentor or the Sistine Chapel. That's back here. It was one scroll off. Or the Sistine Chapel. It might be wise, especially the Sistine Chapel. It might be wise to get that if you know someone's going tourism and you kind of want to halt them. See, what else is there? Pentagon, kind of useless. That's actually, Pentagon is literally the worst wonder. Because there's an ideology, or a tenet in autocracy that does the exact same thing. And it's a tenet, not a wonder, so. But if you're not going autocracy, it's still not worth it. Because 33%, this late in the game, the upgrade actually gets cheaper as you go on, so for upgrading military units. That's pretty much it for the culture. CN Tower I've talked about. Free broadcast tower, it's pretty nice. What about Sydney Opera House? This one might be worth getting. Free social policy and 50% culture in this city, and then contains 2 slots for great works of music. 50% culture when combined with Hermitage, that's the wrong. Where's Hermitage? Is that all the way back here? I have no idea what it is. I think it's archaeology. No? I can't be spending all day finding this. Here it is. I know. I literally was just over that. Oh, the Globe Theater. No, I did talk about the Globe Theater. Am I losing my memory? Oh no, it's architecture. You get also plus 50% in this city, so if you have that and the Sydney Opera House, that's plus 100% culture. And that, if you just stack all your culture in one city, that can also be another prevention for tourism. So just try and get as much culture as you can in one city. And that's pretty much it for culture. The latest wonder is the CN Tower and Hubble Space, but we've already talked about those. I've talked about the Hubble Space in my previous video, but I honestly think that's it for culture. I've pretty much talked about everything. there are the aesthetics tree I didn't really talk about. Cultural centers, this is pretty good. Get this early on. Oh, I forgot to mention, for all policies, once you adopt it, that's, even though you don't get to pick a tenant, there's still a bonus for, like, example, tradition increases the rate of border expansion in cities, and then gives street culture in the capital, and each unlocked a unique building. I did talk about that, though. And then each has a finisher. For example, tradition, plus 15% growth and free aqueduct in your first 4 cities. I'm not sure if the 15% growth applies to your first 4 cities or just the free aqueducts, but and then some of them you get to purchase units. For example, you can purchase great engineers with faith, fashionism, great scientists, aesthetics. You can purchase great writers, artists, and musicians. Commerce is great merchants. Honor is great generals. Liberty, nothing. Piety, nothing. But that doesn't mean these aren't useful. Exploration is great, admiral, patronage, nothing. But they're still good even if you can't purchase anything. Yeah, I'm just mainly going to talk about aesthetics. Cultural centers should probably be the first one you get before fine arts, because that just allows you to build stuff really fast. Or build the monuments. There, it's kind of a bit late for monuments. Even amphitheaters. This is mainly for like opera houses, museums, and broadcast towers. It's 50%. That's actually a good amount. That's like that doesn't cut the time in half. That'd be 100% faster, but it's 1/4. So this is good for cities that take a while to build stuff. Fine arts, 50% excess happiness, add to the amount of culture per turn. So that means I have 48. That means 24 be added to culture. That's kind of it. Artistic genius, just great art appears. Flourishing of the arts. Culture increased by 33% on all cities that have built a world wonder in the empire as a golden age. So like, if you spread out your wonders throughout all cities and get this, that'll just be a culture boost. Cultural exchange. This is the one for tourism. I've talked about it. Increases tourism modifier for religion, trade routes, and open borders by 15, which is vital. If you're growing tourism, spread your religion if you have one. Trade routes, those will be important. I didn't utilize that, but you should. And then open borders, get those. I mean, people probably won't get open borders, but they don't have a choice for trade routes, unless they declare war on you, which they might. But and then the finisher, you get great writers, artists, and musicians faster, 25%. So they get. I think if you look at a city, I think this might be a per city thing because, like, let's take a look at mine. Let's see. I have 12 for great writers. Yeah, city bonus is 50%. I have plus 38 for great scientists. And you can see the modifiers here. And then all of these are for the reason why they're 50% is from, I know one of them is from the National Epic. I probably have a garden in this city. Yeah, I do, since it's next to a river. So that's plus 50%, and then you can get another plus 25% from that. So that would be, that'd be plus 75. So yeah, I actually think that's it. I don't really think there's any more to talk about. Oh yeah, they have a culture thing as well. So if I do production. Or no, actually they might not have a culture. No, they don't. It's only wealth and research art. So they don't have a culture thing. So, yeah, I literally think that's the ending one. I mean, I'll probably talk about the World Congress in its own episode now that I think about it. But I'm going to need to kind of get a simulation for that. So, like, an actual World Congress, so probably in my newer series. But, yeah. One a day from now on, because summer is approaching and video uploads should be constant. There might be some days where I don't notify ahead of time, kind of like yesterday, but there will be, not often, there will be few. Or there will be few. So, yep, that's it for today. Tomorrow it is then.